Hey, and welcome to the channel. Ready to delve into the Reddit verse for a story or several? If you like what you hear, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as it helps us aplenty. Now let's dig in. This story comes from the Am I the Asshole subreddit by user miserable_bag_4746. AITA for not telling a man that the research he was mansplaining to me was my own. I don't normally post on Reddit, so please forgive me if I do this wrong. I, 33 female, work in a very small, technical, specific, male-dominated field. I won't give too much information on it, as I think you could easily find my identity if I did, but let's just say it's a subcategory of law. I graduated 9 years ago, for anyone wondering. The system in my country is different than in the US, so I only studied for 5 years, and am now a lawyer, as well as a researcher. I published some work here and there, but nothing too major, and no one outside of that field knows my work. Yesterday, I went to a bar with a couple of friends who introduced me to one of their friends who works in the same field as me. I was pretty excited to meet him because it's rare to meet people who work in that field. He doesn't exactly do the same thing as I do. He's not a lawyer, but a legal advisor, but we work on the same topics, so naturally we started talking about our work. At one point, we were discussing a point on which we had different opinions, so I explained mine to him, and he replied by saying that my opinion was based on nothing, while his was based on the work of a professional. You guessed it, me. He basically started explaining my work to me, but in a completely wrong way, and missed all of my points. I asked him if he was sure that that was what the author meant, and he said that he was because it was, quote, pretty simple actually. For another good 20 minutes, he explained all of it to me in details, like I was a first-year law student. I didn't say anything, because it was pretty funny to watch him say things that were completely wrong with so much confidence. After that, the topic changed and the night went on. But at the end of the night, right before leaving, I decided to tell him that I was actually the person that wrote the work he had quoted, and that he hadn't really understood it. He reacted very badly and got angry, and he had told me that I had manipulated him to humiliate him. He yelled at me for not saying it was my work at the beginning. I simply replied that he had embarrassed himself and left. I woke up this morning to text from my friends saying that I was wrong for causing drama and tension, and that I could have been nicer to their friend. I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong there. I mean, yes, I could have told him right away, but is it that big of a deal that I didn't? I'm not exactly sure. AITA? Edit. I forgot to make this clear, and maybe it's a bit of a misunderstanding, but both conversations only happened between the two of us. We were the only ones talking about our work, and our friends also weren't really there when I told them that I was the author, so it's not like I publicly humiliated him. The only thing, quote, embarrassing for him here is that a woman seems smarter than him, and I think that's what he had an issue with. Edit 2. I've seen some comments claiming that this post was fake because, quote, that just doesn't happen. Quote, I've seen so many other stories where the same thing happens. Quote, that's not realistic. I'm not trying to justify anything because I don't really care, but I just find it funny to see lots of comments from women sharing similar stories, and then lots of comments from men saying it doesn't happen. And then some of us men, and I use that term lightly in this case, wonder why we aren't taken as seriously as we'd like to be. Before diving into the comments, I don't believe OP is in the wrong for how she went about this, and actually comes out as the more, well, the only mature one in my opinion. Sure, she could have told him from the start she was the author, but what if she wanted to have some fun? What if she wanted to test him? These ain't crimes last I checked. She came with experience. He responded with feelings. If he owned up to his fault, he could have saved face, perhaps even score a number. Wow, OP, you're quite informed in your practice. Care to enlighten me more sometime? Or something. You know, dude possibly blocked himself for the sake of his ego. Take notes, people. Sheesh, such incompetence makes you kinda pity his clientele. Anyway, case dismissed. Let's hear the jury's afterthoughts. User Lauria says, NTA, and kudos to you for being so calm when he mansplained your own research. Question, did your friends also reprimand their friend for screaming at you? I mean, I wasn't exactly friendly either. Edit, spelling. To answer your question, I have no idea. I left right after, and he left to go back with my friends. The way I know them, I think they did because they are always the people that want to avoid tension, so I'm pretty sure they weren't happy that he reacted that way, but I can't know for sure. User verbingnow413 says, NTA, this is hilarious, to which OP responded, that's how I felt the whole night. Honestly, I was laughing so hard inside I didn't expect him to take it that way. User Yarn Penguin says, this is as good as that man on Twitter that tried to tell Margaret Atwood which religious doctrine that Handmaid's Tale was a critique of. NTA, to which OP responded, oh, I remember seeing that tweet. It was hilarious. Men really have the audacity. According to Addendum 65 says, NTA, he fucked around, found out. He's just pissed as a small man that realized he was outclassed and potentially made some massive career errors, being plain wrong to start with, and then being enough of a misogynist to behave like that. Without realizing you were the author, you took the trash out. He probably behaves like this in the office too, so taking him down a peg probably hit him too hard. This story comes from the Am I the Asshole subreddit by user Ignore the Screams. My 13-year-old plays soccer. Here is one particular mom who has a younger child not on the team, maybe 7-8 female. Mom is a gentle parent, kid is an absolute brat, and does whatever she wants. During games, if mom gets, quote, touched out as she calls it, and basically is overwhelmed and needs a break from her own kid, she'll just walk away and assume the other soccer parents will supervise. I don't feel like I am responsible for her kid, so I won't supervise. Last weekend, Crunchy Mom walked away and left little Mary sitting next to me. Mary decides to run out on the field and obviously got trampled. Crunchy Mom comes running over furious with me because I should have been watching her as I knew she stepped away. Mind you, she never asked if I'd watch her, just assumed I would, because I also have younger kids, 2 and 11 months. I explained that I too was, quote, all touched out by her kid who thinks she can climb all over anyone, get into everyone's stuff, so I too was taking a break from her kid at that time. So, AITA, is it my duty to watch someone else's kid because our older boys are on the same soccer team? Here's an easy one. No, I don't believe OP is the wrong one here. Even those of us with children would agree, I believe. This Crunchy Mom carried her child for months just to regularly ditch the kid at soccer games and then goes apeshit when the little one is mistaken for the ball due to her mother's own negligence. Never mind the bystanders who could have prevented it. They may have had their own obligations. I hope little Mary suffered nothing a Band-Aid and some ice cream can't heal, but let this be a lesson to the mother, who truly puts the ass in assumption. Stories like this make me wish childbirth required passing a common sense test. AITA for saying that? Let me know in the comments below. Speaking of, let's read some here in this thread. User FlyNina3 says, NTA, and your response was great. This was under the category of, not your problem. If she can't handle her kid, then she needs to get a babysitter for her kid, or leave her kid with her family, or figure it out otherwise. But either way, again, not your problem. I don't blame you. If you start watching out for the kid once, the mom's going to assume you'll do it all the time, and you'll get stuck with it. You have your child playing, plus 2 other young children there. That is very nervy to not only assume, but expect for you to watch her as well. User Starfish says, NTA, you're absolutely not responsible for someone else's child, especially when the mom didn't even bother to ask if you'd watch her. Just walking away and assuming other parents will pick up the slack is incredibly entitled. You already have 2 young kids of your own to manage, and it's unreasonable to expect you to take on someone else's parenting responsibilities without your consent. User Illustrious Mind 683 says, NTA, if you didn't birth it or adopt it, then it's not your responsibility. Unless you agree to watch someone else's child, then they aren't your problem. I would have told her straight up that her kid is not my responsibility. You don't get to take unscheduled breaks from your own child. That's not how parenting works. User Aggravating Lab 619 says, time to break out one of my favorites. Not my circus, not my monkeys. NTA. This story comes from the Entitled Parents section by user Aria Afton. My mom started yelling in the middle of a bookstore over a LGBT plus book. My mom and I went to our local BAM, Books A Million, to get some books with some money I had saved up. I had been saving up for a month now from chores, working with my dad in the shop, Christmas, etc. I went to the area with graphic novels and comic books, since those are the books I enjoy the most. I wanted a 1 through 4 book collection that I had saw online. It was Heartstopper, but didn't know where it was, so I asked an employee to show me where it was. The employee was great, by the way, and even told me where to find the books online. They showed me where it was, and I could already tell my mom wasn't happy about it. She was already looking at me with the look, and all of a sudden, my heart started pounding because I didn't know how she was going to react. She asked the employee what the book was about. The employee told her about the book, and she immediately got angry. She was saying things like, "Really? This is what you came here for?" And "This is why I don't want you on the computer. You're getting confused by all these things." And then she called my dad and was yelling about the book in the middle of the store, right in front of the employee. What really triggered me was her saying, "We're here trying to steer you the right way, and then you're getting all upset and writing about wanting to kill yourself." This was in the middle of the store. She said that out loud, in front of everyone, and then walked into the poem section of the store right after like nothing had happened. I don't know how to feel. She'll do things like this, and then a few weeks later she'll act like it never happened. "What are you talking about? I never said that." And she'll look at me like I'm crazy. I feel stuck since I can't say anything back to try and defend myself. I think about doing it, but when it actually happens, I just sit there, quiet. I'm too scared of her escalating and doing something worse like trying to hit me. She hasn't done that in years, but I don't think she's against doing it again. She's threatened to do that before and has cornered me, and she'll act like that never happened. Like, sure, a lot of the hitting and violence happened when I was like 8 and younger, but it still happened. It didn't just disappear. And since then, we haven't gone back to that BAM. I wonder why. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, and gaslighting. Oh my. Stories like these make you feel for OP. I'm talking reaching beyond the screen and giving her the understanding and acceptance her mother clearly doesn't know how to or want to give. The fact that OP was met with and still fears the violence from her childhood to the point of freezing up in the presence of her mother's overwhelming cruelty, unchecked by other adults nearby. Ugh. Little do such parents realize the long-term effects these actions have on their children's esteem, identity, ability to trust, and such. Emotional intelligence should be a requirement for childbirth. I'll say it again. Moving on to the comments. User Chaos of a Mad Hatter says, "How old are you? I ask because if you're still underage, then you should be making efforts to make sure once you turn 18, you can get out and find a safer place for you to live. This means getting good grades in school in order to get scholarships, picking up a part-time job if you can, and saving every penny in an account that she does not have access to. Have a friendly adult co-sign for you if need be. If you're over 18, in the same vein, establish a bank account she doesn't know about. Make sure all your checks are direct deposited there, and get your important papers, social security card, birth certificate, etc., in your control, and be ready to hit the ground running as soon as you can." As someone who got out of an abusive household, I cannot emphasize enough how much of a difference it made for me to realize life is more than trying to please someone determined to make your life hell. User MaxFoster14 says, "Wow. Your maternal parental unit is not the friendly type, and definitely not the most open-minded. What about your father? What was his reaction?" To which OP responded, "He mostly just agrees with what she says most of the time. Same with this situation." User Carmium says, "You're getting confused." Popular statement with those who object to persons becoming unconfused about themselves. User TinyAd830 says, "I would start recording, even if it's a voice recording, whenever she does this. That way, at least you have proof she said it." And that's it. What are your thoughts on these stories? Which one resonated with you most? Do you agree or disagree with any of the replies mentioned? Drop us a comment below to let us know. And remember, be sure to like and subscribe for more.